Alright, what is up guys, Azura here, and today we are here to take a look at a deck that I'm pretty sure 90% of you guys can't even afford to play, and it is Gyze. So this deck is super expensive because you need minimum 5 Xerath Dragons to actually play, and as you all know by now, most of you, if you don't, Xerath Dragons require you to open 150 packs of three very specific sets, pretty good sets, but still 150 packs of a specific set to get a Xerath Dragon. So in total, you need to open 750 packs to get the required Xerath Dragons to play this deck. So yeah, without further ado, let's take a look at the list that I'm playing. So I chose to play Blaster Gyze. There's a bunch of different Gyze lists you could play. Off the top of my head, Angel Gyze is a pretty obvious one because that one lets you install forever to hit your triggers. There's Blaster Gyze. There's the concussion I like playing was I like the DI Gyze was like my initial one that I like to play a bit. Genesis Gyze because Revelation lets you reveal cards and so you put the non-triggers away. But yeah, the list I'm playing is Blaster Gyze because I don't know, I just happen to stack the hardest on this deck. But yeah, so what you're looking for a Gyze deck is a few things. You either looking to play a deck that can stall the game out long enough to the point where you can just hit the 5 triggers, because if you don't know, Gyze's whole gimmick is that you don't get the power from your triggers, but instead the power gain turns into buying a Xerath Dragon from your G zone, and then once you bind 5, you stride into Gyze, and Gyze says when he's called, you call 5 Xerath Dragons from your bind to your board. Those Xerath Dragons are basically unaffected by everything. And then at the start of your next turn, you ping your opponent 1 damage per Xerath Dragon on your board. You'll have 5 because you need to bind 5 to actually stride into the Gyze. So basically, once you hit Gyze, you ping them for 5 and they just die. Is basically the whole the gimmick behind this deck. So yeah, so basically what you're looking for is either a deck that can stall forever to hit the 5 triggers, i.e. something like Angels. A deck that can deck thin really hard to try to hit triggers. Think of something like DI because they have a bunch of cards that can put Darkness cards in a soul. And then there's something like Blasters, which it does a little bit of everything. It can kind of stall, not really, but it can kind of stall. This deck has ways to return triggers back to the deck with Gancelot and the Grade 3 Lu. It can deck thin with the Marin and the Grade 2 guy that calls other Grade 2s. And you have the Gancelot and Alpha Shard that give you more drives, and more drives means obviously more chances to check triggers. But yeah. Those I personally decided to play was Blaster Gyze. I just thought it was fun, but yeah. So we'll start from top to bottom for cards. So Gyze is also your starter. So if you don't know how this works, Gyze is your starter and it goes into the G zone. So little fun fact, if you don't know IRL, the Gyze card is actually like front and back. Like the one side is the starter, the other side is the actual like dragon. So yeah. So Gyze is once you ride on top of it, you move him into your G zone. I think face up, and then face up G zone. All your trigger effects become like the power from your trigger effects become bind a Xerath Dragon from your G zone instead, and then once you have 5, you can ultimate stride. Oh yeah, and something you know is that you need to actually ultimate stride into Gyze, so you have to ditch a card with the same name as your Vanguard to actually go into this, just like the other Xerath Dragons. And then what Gyze itself actually does is on place, you choose 5 Xerath Dragons from your bind and call them. And then at the start of your next turn, for every Xerath Dragon you have on your board, you ping your opponent for 1. And then the other effect is your Xerath Dragons are basically immune to everything, including itself. So and then the last line of text that I got is that if your opponent's Vanguard is Gyze, all you're using at plus 10k. So if you didn't know, because Gyze himself is a Xerath Dragon and he's unaffected by everything, pinging your opponent for damage is technically affecting your opponent's Vanguard. So because of that, in the mirror you can't actually ping your opponent. So his extra line text basically saying if you're playing a mirror, you can actually hit their face because they don't get trigger power. Your columns will be like I think Xerath Dragons are 25. Yeah, so you'll be like 35, 35, and then Van will be 40. So it hits exactly enough numbers to hit face 3 times. So yeah, so that's it for the actual Gyze. So he's your starter and he becomes a stride. And then to the main deck. So we're playing 4 of the Hope Keeper Angel PG. We played this PG because I I learned the hard way that I completely forgot that Lien does not work when you're on Gyze, because when you're on Gyze, when you try Gyze, you banish like everything else on your board, including your Vanguard. So it's just the Gyze. So you lose the blaster name. So I learned the hard way that Lien does not work when you're on Gyze. So I play this because this card is searchable by the grade 1 Marin, which is GB1 on play from hand if your Vanguard is a blaster or a Alfred, I think. CB1 calling anything from your deck give it plus 3k, so you can technically call PGs, you just need to make sure you're brave when you do so. So deck thinning and you can call PGs is really nice. One Barkle, 1 CC. This deck doesn't, like, you're not actually playing a game of killing your opponent, so you don't really need that much CB. So I'm only playing one of it just because I didn't know what else to play. And we're still playing 4 Wingle Youth, I think is his name. We're playing this because we don't have Wingle Brave anymore. We actually need this even more than in a normal build because we don't have Wingle Brave to help us search a ride. So he's consistency and he's Red Water. So yeah, that's grade 1s. Grade 2s, a Blaster Blade. Obviously we're still playing Blaster Blade because Gancelot needs it. You can search it. Blah blah blah. Blaster Blade is Blaster Blade. We're playing 4 of this guy on place. Van Rear, Soul Blast 1, CV1, call any grade 2 other than another copy of himself. So you can use this and call out basically whatever you want here. So it deck thins and it gives you an extra intercept. Very nice. Star, I don't know. The Trumpeter is basically the same thing except it is GB locked, so a little bit worse. But she also called anything, so you can call a PG with this to add back to your hand if you want. And then we're playing 4 Escort Equals because it has resist. Basically, no other reason it has resist. That's why we're playing it. This in conjunction with Gancelot with the Blaster Blade basically gives you double resist in the front row. So that's pretty nice because double resist means the decks that need to actually retire your stuff to or target your front row to do stuff, they can't actually touch it because both of them have resist. So you can slow the game down a bit like that to try to hit your triggers. So yeah, that's what we're playing for that. That's it for grade 2s, and finally for triggers, 4 heal guards. For Gancelot, Gancelot is here because he's a trigger. Then go back to the deck if you draw him to trade himself for an intercept. So double duty. He's the triggers goes back into your deck and you grab an intercept. So very very nice. Gancelot has always been good, and he is good. And there's no exception here. So yeah, 4 Gancelot, 4 Blaster Blade, Exceed. I think is this one. Yeah, but you play him because obviously he's your main ride. But the reason why he's good in this deck specifically is that he can not only put triggers back to your deck, he can also grab copies of himself on stride. So very rarely will you hit Gyze by first stride. So that one turn where you set up, that one turn where you like do a normal stride, on stride bonus you can search yourself another copy of the Blaster Blade Seed. So you can set up Ultimate Strike Fodder for the next turn on placing your retire as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, he's mainly really good in this deck because he searches for your ultimate stride cost for the next turn. So yeah, really really good. And we're playing 1 Liu. He acts as the intercept as well as the fact that he can recycle cards back to the deck, mainly like a Blaster Blade and Blaster Blade. So yeah, just flow 1 up, but he's also an intercept on the rear as well. So yeah, pretty nice. And that's it for the main deck, and obviously 4 heal guards because heal guards are good. And then as for the G zone, realistically speaking, it doesn't matter too much. Gancelot doesn't flip, so you don't actually need 4 Gans. I have 4 Gans, so I just threw them in. Realistically, you only need probably like 2 at most, because you will never try into Gans 4 times. But yeah, I have 4, so I just threw in 4. Again, you can play 2. 2's more than enough, then you play 2 something else. But yeah, Gans is good because Gans gives Last Blade resist until the end of your opponent's next turn, so an intercept that can't be popped. He CCs, which is cool. He draws the card, which is cool. But most importantly, he gains a drive. So on your first drive turn, you get 4 drive checks. So yeah, more drive checks, more chances to check triggers. And then if you still don't have Gyze by second stride, you can go into Alfred, and Alfred lets you get 5 drive. So plus one more drive compared to Gancelot. So yeah, pretty good. Obviously, like more drives is good because more drives means more chance of triggers, and Alfred gives you 5 on second stride onward. So yeah, we're playing 2 of that, and the rest of the G zone, every Gyze deck will be like this. It'll be 1 Harmonics and 5 Zeroth Dragon. So even though there are 6, because 6 1 for each nation, you only need 5. So just pick the 5 you want to play. I didn't play Megiddo, but realistically speaking, you can play whatever you want. So yeah, every Gyze deck realistically only has 6 slots in the G zone because 1 is dedicated for Messiah, 5 is for your Zeroth Dragon, and then the 6 are your flex. And that's it for the deck profile for this deck. Awesome games for you guys after this. But I mean, be honest, those games, there's not a whole lot I can say about how to play this deck optimally or anything like that. It is actually just pray you see triggers. But yeah, I'll see you guys there anyways. So yeah, onward to the games, I guess. So for our first game, we are actually playing a Gyze mirror. My opponent's playing OTT Gyze. But yeah, honestly, again, like I said, there really is not a whole lot I can tell you about how to play Gyze. Yeah, like it is actually just flip triggers, hope you see triggers. Yeah, that's all there is to it. Just hope you see triggers. You do things that increase your chances of seeing triggers. For example, you see Ganses, you put them back into your deck. You see a way to call cards, you thin your deck out. Like they're really, it really is not hard. Like the hardest part about Gyze is finding a deck core that you think is good for the deck. So yeah, again, there really is not a whole lot for me to talk about. Gyze is Gyze. I guess the interesting thing is the mirror. I guess is like how you want to approach the mirror. I think there's two ways to go at it. It's either you damage deny in the mirror, so that you you either try to damage deny in the mirror, so you limit the amount of damage checks the opponent can get, or you just hit face and just assume both sides will hit Gyze at some point. And if you assume that, that means the more damage they're at, the faster you can kill them, because once both sides are in Gyze, you can't actually ping each other, and then it just becomes a matter of who has more guards in hand. And obviously, if you push your opponent faster, they will die faster. Obviously, I think that's the best way to put it. So yeah. So yeah, like that's like the two ways to look at it, I guess, of how you want to look at do with Gyze. And here, I guess here I was thinking like, how do I want to do this? I guess here I wanted to play it slow. I am actually a very big stack. I've already hit 3 triggers before before I even ride up to 3. And here I just basically decided that I did not want to did not want to give my opponent more chances to check triggers to hit Gyze faster. So yeah, he rides his thing, he swings on my rear, he doesn't check a trigger. So I'm at 3, he's at 1 in terms of Xayah Dragon binded. Obviously no reason to use that Harmonics main there in case you just need to go in Harmonics for whatever reason against like Lock or whatever. Oh yeah, if you're also wondering how Lock works, so when you stride into Gyze, you banish everything on your board, just gets yeeted away, so all the Lock cards would go as well. And how stuff like Hand Lock, Lock from Drop, all of that works with Gyze, while you're on Gyze is turn player gets priority on their effects. So because of that, you will, because it is your turn, your effect to ping the opponent will activate before you are forced to lock stuff over your Xayah Dragon. Because if you end up being forced to lock like cards over the Xayahs, you actually do lose them because they're not technically being affected, because you yourself are being forced to call over them as a locked card. Because Gyze also says you're not allowed to call cards, but since you're calling the locked cards, it's not technically different, so you don't actually get to you're technically not calling, so it would go over it. But yeah, that's how that works. You'd ping them before you're forced to do any of that, so you'd only ever see locked circles as Gyze if like they live your ping 5. And if you're wondering how it works with deck out, if you for example, if you're going to turn with 1 card in deck, you again ping before you draw, because it's the start of the turn, so it's before your draw phase. So if you go into turn with 1 card in deck, you still win first, win, quote unquote, assuming your point dies to the ping 5, which very likely they probably will. So yeah, and against other decks, you probably want to play it slow, limit the amount of CB they have. Harmonics obviously doesn't let you damage deny the opponent, so hold them at 0 and just ping them and kill them all at once. So yeah, so against real decks, you probably want to limit the amount of CB they have to like 1 a turn. And here you'll see my opponent, so you'll see that one, obviously they stacked that one. You'll see my opponent be a really good player and heal 3 times here. So 1 stacked, and he just happens to see 2 more, so we are now even on Xayah's Dragon count. So I guess the main takeaway from this game here and how to play Gyze is in the mirror in situations like this. So here, my opponent is 1 off. I am also 1 off of the Gyze. So here, The play you'll see me do here is obviously going to this because I want more drive checks, but the play you see me here do is I only swing into the rune. I do not give him a damage, and by not giving him a damage, it takes away the chance of him going into Gyze next turn, and I basically turn it to the point where if he does not hit a trigger on his drive check on the next turn, he cannot Gyze. And then here I have 5 drives. I'm very confident I'll hit at least 1 to go into to be able to actually Gyze here on my next turn. So here I give that. Obviously now I have 5 drive checks this turn, and I swing. Draw 1, draw 2. Cool. Drew a PG in case it does devolve into a game of whatchamacallit, a Gyze beatdown hit face. And here I swing rear. And here I just don't even swing the ban. I'd rather not take more cards out of my deck in case I do hit draws. So I don't swing ban to rear. I just don't swing, don't give him any chance of hitting an offensive. And here my Gyze is ready for the next turn. So the onus is on him to check 1 trigger on his triple drive here, and I think he actually whiffed on his triggers. So this just ended up being GG's basically, because you'll see here, yeah, he goes into this, blah blah blah, good for him. He whiffs 3 checks, meaning because he whiffed 3 checks, this means that he does not have the ability to go into Gyze on his next turn, meaning when it cycles back to my turn, I do get to ping him, and he actually dies because he doesn't get to be unaffected because he's not in Gyze yet. So yeah, so here little stuff like this is probably what you do need to know when playing like the very rare mirror. Let's see here, I go into Gyze, ultimate stride, yeet my G zone, yeet everything off the board, my Vanguard included, and we stride into Gyze. Gyze turns into the big bad grade 4, and now you go into this, call 5 Zero Dragons, and here I'm free to hit faces. Actually no. Here you actually do not hit face, because if I hit his face once and he ends up damage checking a trigger, he can go into Gyze. So here I just swing at the rears and call it a day. He is on double 6 killer live or die, I think. So yeah. Here, by not giving damage, I don't even give him the chance to hit the defensive to go into the Gyze next turn. So here, because at the end of the day, like, even though your opponent has 1 turn to kill you while you are on Gyze, they need to be able to scale 30k on 3 columns, assuming you're at 5. If you're not at 5, if you're at 4, they need to be able to scale 30k once and then 35 twice to actually hit you. So obviously here, I have 0 chances of dying here. He goes into this thing, so this thing I think is like the mulligan stride, so probably tries to mold the heals back into his deck so he can actually try to like live next turn to my pings, but yeah, that's not very likely, realistically speaking. 1, 2, so he hits the trigger, so he can Gyze next turn, but it doesn't matter, he's gonna die to my pings on my turn, at the start of my turn. So yeah, he hits me. Cool, I hit another trigger, who cares, I'm already on Gyze, triggers don't matter anymore. And here, yeah, I'm gonna go back and see, yeah, I think he molded a few cards back, probably try to put heals back to try to heal down. And here, Gyze, as you see, he gets hit with the effects, the very boring effects. And yeah, he just got pinged for 5 and just died. So yeah, that's like the whole gameplay with this deck. And next, yeah, just and then one more game, I guess, against an actual regular deck. We play against Chaos. I'm just gonna skip the game because I think I was grade stuck for like 4 turns. So yeah, I just kind of did whatever. Yeah, I was locked whatever. So here. We'll just start here. So here, I think I was like on 1 trigger. I just did not see triggers at all at the beginning. But yeah, here we go into Gantz. Obviously, he is your ideal first ride. This one set up the search the ultimate stride fodder. I think here I just straight up flipped 3 triggers. So I think I instantly put myself back into range of actually going into Gyze on the next turn. So draw 1. I think I just flip strip. Oh. Oh wait, 4 drives, right? Yeah, so I did actually hit 3 triggers here. So that's 1. That's 2. And that's 3. So yeah. Oh, never mind. That put me exactly at Gyze. So he's just dead next turn. So now. So yeah, my opponent is actually just dead on the next turn. He's hilarious. And I guess one more thing I forgot to mention is that the order of the Xerath Dragons being bind, because it is random, you don't get to choose. But the order, there is a pseudo, there's like a small order to it. So basically the order is, it will bind Zealot dragons that are not of your deck's nation first. So since my deck is a United Sanctuary or Keter, or whatever you want to call it, the last Zealot that that Gyze will bind for you specifically will be the will be Ultima, because that's how the game decides to do it. It will bind the Zealot dragon that is not of your nation. That is of your nation last, so it gives you a chance to actually go into it if you want to for whatever reason. But yeah, here there really wasn't a whole lot going on. I was actually just great stuck. I was just kind of stalling with resist for as long as I could. Drew Ride, and then I instantly flipped all the triggers I needed to go into Gyze. So yeah, here just swing. Yeah, so yeah, he did a turn of nothing. I stride into Gyze. I hit him to 5. Obviously, the more damage, the better. If I'm not actually scared of dying. I think the one thing here that I might have died to, because I actually did not have PGs in hand here, was Stark. But my opponent flipped all their triggers already, so he straight up did not have the option to go into Stark at all. So yeah, Stark was the one thing here that actually would have killed me, because I don't have any intercepts, so I'll just get pushed to 5 and Stark will check me 3 times, and I have 2 cards in hand, so I would die. But yeah, my opponent did not have the ultimate strike fodder going into the Stark. He just kind of does whatever, does nothing for a turn, and then he just dies to ping 5 from 5. So yeah, guaranteed lethal, he's dead. Yeah, see here, I even show up the trigger count here. He's just out of triggers, so he straight up could not stride into thing. And even if he could, I probably would have just beat him to death anyways, because he's at he's out all his PGs. So yeah, there's that. Again, there really isn't a whole lot to go over. I think the most meaningful thing that we went over here with the games is the mirror, and how damage denying can actually help win you the game in the mirrors to a degree. Obviously, it's not just hitting faces better, but yeah, knowing when to damage deny the mirror is probably the one thing you do need to know when playing Gyze. So yeah, that's it for this deck profile. Tell me guys what you think about this deck down below in the comments. I know that most of you probably cannot afford this deck, but where you're not, this deck is pretty bad. It's just a for fun deck if you just happen to be rich and have all the Zealot dragons you need to play it. But yeah, this deck is not very good, but very, very expensive. But yeah, that's it for this deck profile. Like and subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.